Got to be a little close. Okay, we'll get this figured out. So welcome everyone to our March 30th Technical Advisory Committee for TransCom. Like Rosie said, if you need to make any comments, for those here in person, unmute your microphone, and the microphone does not move. You can't bend it, so careful that you don't break that there as you try to adjust it. Just the very end is adjustable. For those here in person as well, you can get a parking validation afterwards. So talk to Wasatch Front staff here. And bathrooms are right through this door here to my left. And welcome to all those online as well. So with this hybrid meeting, we'll try to work it both ways for everybody. And just so you know, moving forward with any votes that we take, we're hoping we can just ask for a voice vote here in person. And of course, people online can type in their response into the chat box, and we'll monitor those. If it appears that we have a motion that maybe has a little bit more, I don't know, maybe controversy is too strong of a word, but if it's not clear that the motion passes, then we can go through and validate each vote and make sure that each community is represented in only one vote and so forth. But hopefully we can just do a voice vote. And just as a reminder that every community or agency representative gets one vote. So if you came with a buddy, you can commiserate together and decide what the one vote will be. So we'll just jump right into the first action item. And that will be approval of the February 23rd meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to that end? We'll wait for a moment.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, and what was your name?
Boyd Davis with West Point City.
Perfect. And do we have a second? That's Jake, is that right? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So here in person, we'll just ask for a voice vote, and then online, if you can type in your response. So all in favor? Any opposed? So that motion passes, the minutes are approved. So that's how we'll attempt to take the votes moving forward. Hopefully it will go smoothly that way. And we do have Wasatch Front staff here monitoring the input that we receive online. So
we have several participants that have also accepted the motion and the second.
Perfect.
Just a reminder, they can participate as well, right? So if they would like to unmute themselves
Okay.
online, is that right? Okay.
So yeah, maybe we could do that. Say I can give a moment for people to prepare and unmute, and we could just ask for it all to be by voice. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. We'll do that. Okay, well, I will turn the time over to Ben to introduce the business, and we'll move forward with the agenda from there.
All right, can we? Perfect, thank you, Rosie. So all of this is kind of a new experience working through multi stuff. We're working through a lot of stuff. We're going to let this pull up here for just a second. So as you know, those who've been involved in the past, those if this is your first time around, this meeting is a pretty important meeting, as this committee here will have the responsibility to make recommendations for the funds, and this recommendation then will go on to TransCom for their review and approval. So let me walk us through our process here, as some of you may be new to this. We'll get to the tables here in just a second. So as you're aware of our schedule starts in the fall, in September, when we're making a request for letter of intent. That letter of intent then comes back to us and we do a very high level evaluation if that project's eligible. We make recommendations back to the project sponsors if they ought to submit for whatever type of funding or if the project isn't eligible or whatever. But for the most part, all of you that are familiar with it, we seem to move through pretty good on that level. Then we request from the potential project sponsor to prepare and submit a concept report. Those concept reports then are due to us back by the middle part of December. And from the middle part of December to this day, we're in the process of evaluation. And we go through an evaluation which involves an on-site field review with project sponsors. We have individuals from UDOT, from UTA, from Federal Highways, from our office, and sometimes other jurisdictions. These past couple of years, we've done that kind of a virtual on the spot field review. We've had people on site, and then we've had people join us via the Zoom, and it's worked out pretty good. And if any of you ever have a suggestion or recommendation, we always welcome input. Well, through that evaluation process, we come up with what we say or prepare as a staff modification to initiate our discussion. Now, today, we're going to talk about 3 programs. And as you'll recall, or well, those who were involved, or maybe you're not aware, but so our field review up in the Ogden-Layton area was spread over 2 full days. We started about 7:30, so we were on site somewhere around 8. And then we generally finished up around 4, 4:30, sometimes even 5. So we had 2 days of field review. And on those projects in the field review, we looked at over 43 projects in the Ogden-Layton urban area. So we went all the way to the northern border of our urban area, which was up Brigham City, down to our southern border in the Ogden-Layton urban area, which is North Salt Lake. And of that, those 43 projects, which by the way, total more than $176 million worth of total project cost. We had 28 projects that were requesting STP funds, and that request exceeded 112 million. We had about 16.5 million to program. In the Cmac, we had over 9.9 plus million for 5 projects, and we had an available amount of 3.7 plus million. In the TAC program, we had 10 projects requesting funds, totaling more than $3 million, and we had $1.5 million to program. So we're going to go through each one of these 3 programs. We're going to walk through the staff modifications, and we're going to walk through the evaluation information that you have with you. So right now, the information you currently have before you is the STP program. But before we go through that, I want to review with everybody those projects that were involved in the STP evaluation, just to refresh your memory. Oh yeah, I remember that project was part of it. Okay, I'm good. So we had 28 projects, and we're going to look at them really quick in less than just a half a minute per project. So the very first project in Brigham City, this was on 12th West. This was a roadway widening project between 6 North and Industrial Way. Total project cost was 8.8 plus million, and the funds being requested was 6.5 plus million. Can you see that? I'm all right. The next project was also in Brigham City, also on 12th West. This is a widening with some new construction. This went south from 4th Street to 4th South, 0.7 of a mile. Project estimated cost 6.4 plus million. Funds being requested was 5.6. Now there's some adjustments as we've gone through the process. We'll address those when we talk on the evaluation forms. The next project was also in Brigham City on 12th West. This was a widening project from Forest Street to Industrial Way, 0.3 of a mile in length. Project estimated cost was 2.4 plus million. Funds being requested was 1.6 plus million. The next project was in Perry City, this 11th West, 12th West connector. This is a new construction to construct 12th West into the intersection on 1100 South. With about 0.4 of a mile of improvement to road. Estimated project cost was 5 million. Funds being requested was 4.5 million. The next project was phase 2 of that, labeled here phase 1, meaning it's the first phase of the road improvements to 12th West between 1600 South and 2250 South, little more than a half mile. Project estimated cost 5.4 plus million, and the funds being requested is 4.9 plus million. The next project is the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad Corridor. This is design a bike ped facility along this corridor. Project estimated cost for the design is 200,000. Funds being requested was 186,000 plus. Next project there was in Centerville City on 400 East. This is to reconstruct the last segment between 100 South to Porter Lane, which is 400 South. Project estimated cost 1.4 plus million. Funds being requested a little more than $1 million. Next project in Clinton City, this is on 1300 North and 1500 West. This is to reconstruct with minor widening on all the legs of that intersection. Recalling we've got an approved intersection project already on the program. This project estimated cost is 3.8 plus million. The funds being requested is 3 million. The next project in Farmington City, this is on 2nd East or SR 106. This is for reconstruction and minor widening to the east so that we can put a shoulder, curb gutter, and sidewalk on the east side of the road. Project estimated cost is 2.8 plus million. Funds being requested is 2.6 plus million. The next project in Layton is at the Front Runner Station. It's a traffic signal. This project was actually funded through Davis County. So it'll show up on all the information, but this project has been funded. The next project in North Salt Lake, this is on Center Street. This minor widening with active transportation components with shouldered bike lane sidewalk that are missing. Project estimated cost is 689,000 plus. Funds being requested is 585,000 plus. The next project is a TOC project, that's Traffic Operations Centers with the Department of Transportation. This is to put ATMS sign or automated traffic management signs that you see on a freeway. These are for smaller versions on surface streets to inform the public how the traffic is on the highway or freeway. This particular request is for SR 193, either side of I-15. Project estimated cost is 600,000. Funds being requested is 559,000 plus. The next project is also a request from the TOC, and this is put a variable message sign on I-84 west of 89. The next project, oh, I didn't tell you that amount. Estimated cost is 750,000. Funds being requested is 699,000 plus. Next project is in South Weber City. This is a reconstruction of the Cottonwood Drive with some minor widening. This is just east of I-84 over to the Weber River Bridge. Project estimated cost is 2.4 plus million. Funds being requested is 2.1 plus million. The next project is in West Bountiful. This is to complete 1100 West between 200 and 400 North to widen it to the consistent cross section, adding curb gutter and sidewalk. The project estimated cost is a little more than $1 million. Funds being requested is 657,000. The next project is in Woods Cross. This is on 1100 West. This is reconstruct with minor widening between 2185 South and 1100 North or 2600 South, just under a half mile in length. Project estimated cost is 3.9 plus million. The funds being requested is 3 million. Next project is in Ogden City. This is on 2nd Street. This is to reconstruct with some minor widening between Washington Boulevard and Monroe Boulevard, 0.8 of a mile in length. Project estimated cost is 6.8 plus million. Funds being requested is 5.2 plus million. The next project also in Ogden City is for reconstruction on 25th Street and 44th Street, where the BRT route is. This is to reconstruct the existing asphalt of this facility or of these facilities, just under a mile in total length. Estimated project cost is just over $9 million, and the funds being requested is just under 4.5 million. The next project is in Weber County. This is an Ogden City project on D Avenue. This is for new construction and widening and improving the existing portion of that structure between 24th Street and Exchange Road, just under a quarter mile in length. Project estimated cost is over $6 million, and the funds being requested is 4.8 plus million. The next project is a UTA request. This is their Mount Ogden facility expansion, located at 135 West and 17th Street. This is to reconstruct their existing facility, which is worn out, been well used, and it's undersized. Project estimated cost 3.7 plus million. Funds being requested is 3 million. Next project is also a request from UTA. This is on the front runner right away preservation corridor from 12th Street to the to Weber County border. It's about 7 miles in length. Total estimated cost for the right of way is 11.3 million. Funds being requested is 5 million. Next project is the other request for surface variable message signs from the UDOT's TOC. This is on SR 39 or 12th Street, both east and west of I-15. Estimated project cost is 600,000. Funds being requested is 559,000 plus. The next project is a project in Plain City. This is on 1975 North. This is to reconstruct with a minor widening on this project between 2700 West and 3600 West, 1.5 miles. This is to construct sidewalk, curb gutter on the north side of this facility, as well as improvements to the road. Project estimated cost 5.1 plus million. Funds being requested is 4.8 plus million. Next project is in Weber County. This is on 12th Street. This is to reconstruct with some widening between 1000 West and 7100 West, about 3.5 miles in length. Project estimated cost is 26 plus million. Funds being requested is 15.7 plus million. Next project is also in Weber County. This is on 2550 South. This is also to reconstruct with minor widening on a narrow 2-lane facility between 3500 West and 4300 West, about a mile in length. Project estimated cost is 12.4 plus million. Funds being requested is 6.7 plus million. The next project is also in Weber County. This is on 33rd South, again to reconstruct with minor widening on a narrow 2-lane facility between 3300 West and 4700 West. Project estimated cost is 17 plus million. Funds being requested is 15.5 plus million. Next project is in West Haven. This is 1800 South and 1900 West. This is to realign, to clean up the offset intersection, squaring it up for a full intersection at 1900 West and 2050 West. Project estimated cost is 1.6 plus million. Funds being requested is 1.1 plus million. The next project is also in West Haven. This is on 3300, 3600. This is a new construction for an S connector between 33rd South at 3500 West up to 36 South at 2700 West, little more than a mile in length. The project estimated cost is 15 plus million. Funds being requested are 14 plus million. That is all the projects in the STP program that we're going to be looking at or talking about for the next few minutes. Any questions? Okay, let's go into these spreadsheets that you got, and hopefully the folks online have got a copy of the spreadsheet. Okay, super. All right, so as a staff recommendation, can I have one of those? Let me explain a little how the form is for those who are in person. For the ability to print these off in any order that made sense, what you do is totally disregard the staple in the corner and just pull them apart. Then if you take page 1 and page 2, the front of page 1 and the front of page 2, and you hold them up together, this is one project all the way across. So project 1 goes across the front of page 1 and the front of page 2. and then here's the, so then if you take page 2 and turn it over, and you turn over page 1, then you've got the second page that goes all the way across. So page 2 goes across the back of page 1 and across the back of page 2. This way you can just lay them out before you, and then you can just turn them over and follow along real easy. Page 3 and 4, same setup, only it's only on one page. So you take them apart, and there you got the third page. So this will show all the SDP projects, all 28 of them. Okay. So for time's sake, is there any questions on that? Does that make a little sense? They understandable? Perfect. All right. So then looking at that, you should look the top project then on the first page. If you're looking at it, you see the front runner traffic signal project. Everyone got that project on top? Okay, that project has already been funded. We don't need to worry about that project. Excellent project, ranked the highest, but it's funded. The next project is a project from Ogden City, 2nd Street Reconstruction project. We're going to skip that project because there's a higher request or a higher priority for Ogden City. The next project that you'll see on that sheet is a project in Clinton. We're recommending that we program $2 million for this project. There was the request. Now I printed mine so little I can't read it. Anyway, you can see what the request is for $3 million. We're recommending $2 million. The next project is a project in West Bountiful. This project requested 657,000 plus. We're recommending the full 657,000 plus. The next project is in Woods Cross City. This project on 1100 West was requesting $3 million, and we're recommending $2 million. Yes. No, the recommended amounts are not on the table. Good question, though. All right, everyone, where we are? Okay, so the next project then is a project in West Haven. This is the realignment of 1800 South. We're recommending the 1.1. All right.
Are you going through each project or just skipping ahead to the next recommended one, Ben?
What was that?
Are you going in order on all these projects or are you skipping ahead to West Haven because that's the next recommended?
No, so I resorted when I printed yours. So we'll go by what your form shows and we'll jump back and forth on my form. So the next one on your form.
Just a reminder that if you'd like to speak, to turn your microphone on and speak directly into the mic. Thank you.
Man, who printed these things? They're all too little. All right. So the next project you see should be project number 6. 1900 and 1975. Is that the one you guys see too? Hot dog. All right. So that one here, then we're recommending the 2.3 plus million that was requested. The next project then is an Ogden City project on 25th Street. Hold it. Dang, we gotta just go down. All right. No, because my form is in the wrong order. Yes, Yeah, it helps. That's great, Rosie. Thank you. All right. Centerville. Hang on just a sec, everyone. We will. Okay, Centerville City. We are recommending the 1,061,000 plus that was requested. Okay, then we're gonna skip project number 8. And we're going to West Haven's project, the 1800 South to 1900 West. And we're recommending the 1.1 plus million that was requested. Then we're going to project number 10. The Perry City project. And we are recommending the requested 2.7 million requested on that project. Project 9, no, we skipped it.
No, I think you skipped 8 and you recommended the full funding on 9, which is with West Haven.
You're right, that's my old form I'm going off of. All right, you guys tell me which one. No, I'm kidding. Okay, the next project. We're gonna skip the surface variable message signs. So now if we can skip a whole sheet, Rosie. And there we have the Ogden City, 25th Street, 4400 South. And we are recommending for that project, the requested amount was 4.4 plus million. We're recommending 3.3 plus million. The next project in Weber County on 12th Street, we are skipping number 13. We're skipping number 14. Number 15, number 16, number 17, number 18, number 19, number 20, 21, and 22. And if we can skip another one, Rosie. And we're going to go all the way down to project number 27, front runner right away. And we're going to recommend 1.5 million on that project. And if I read all the right ones there, we should have a total of 16,773,198. Anyone have any questions on any of the projects, why we may have skipped them or why we funded less? Well, let me tell you, the reason we funded less on a lot of them is looking at the opportunities that existed for that individual city within that community or within that county. But we also talked with the project sponsors on a couple of them. For example, in Perry City, you'll notice that the amount that was recommended is about half of what was originally requested on that project. They were able to identify a strategy to be able to build what's needed now. The right-of-way's been secured and then let development take care of further development on the facility. So that saved us quite a bit, was able to move that particular project forward. Any questions on any of these?
Or
Wayne?
any that you would like to discuss? I mean, this is going to be your recommendation. And so if you want to make any modifications to the staff recommendation, we put that out there as a starting point, and you're welcome to ask questions or make suggestions. So thank you.
I have a question.
Boyd.
That the front runner project 27, does seem like you're skipping over several projects to get to that one, and it's quite a reduction. Is there a reason why that's staff's recommendation over the other projects?
It's an excellent question, Boyd. There's a couple of reasons. One is we felt that it was important for us to identify an eligible transport or a transit type of project in the program. But it was one that we felt that if we were able to put some money to seed the pot, that then other resources could come to the table, putting money into it. We did discuss this with UTA, that if we had the potential to put some money in there, would some money be better than nothing? And or if we put some money in there that was just a small amount, would that just be a waste of money or paralyze the project, meaning that we federalize it, which would federalize everything going into it. And UTA was very willing to work with whatever amount went into that for that very purpose, to be able to show that there was local support. Then they could go to WACOG, they could go to the state, they could go for other federal funds, showing that there was local support to preserve and protect that corridor for the front runner. Up in Box Elder County, they've been doing it with their funds, and Weber County, they're just, they've been working on it as well, but this would seed this particular opportunity or project. Thanks, Boyd.
Hey, Ben,
Yes,
would Cmac, would that fit better in Cmac or does it need to be in the STP?
it needs to be an STP on just right away. If we were building the front runner and we could show emission benefit, then that would be something that could be justified in Cmac. But where it's strictly just to preserve a corridor for now for, we're not quite sure how many years, we can't show any emissions or any air quality benefit. So good question. Thank you, Mike.
Are there any questions or suggestions or comments or discussion from those online?
There isn't anything in the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Paul Larson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I did wrong on my chat question, but I was just wondering if you can mention the Brigham City requests and how they ranked and what deficiencies they had.
Sure, you bet. Be happy to, Paul. So on Brigham City, as you'll walk through on your sheets, you can see where they come in on the ranking, but there's something to be sensitive to and familiar with, that the ranking gives us a score with the data that we collected. There's a lot of other factors that help us ultimately identify the best project. In this case, we did go pretty much right down the row here for the most part on the projects. But on Brigham City's projects, Paul, when we were out on site with your staff, recognizing you were on assignment from the mayor to do other stuff, we identified some potential cost savings or project savings, I should say, to be able to reduce the cost of the initial project, as well as address some of the concerns or priorities that were identified. We've recognized that Brigham City's done a stellar job. You've secured all of the right-of-way in that corridor, and we are very appreciative of that and grateful for your forethought and all your efforts. We do want to work with Brigham City. We think and feel that 12th West is very important, but we want to reduce down that requested ask just so we can get more in the program and give several projects opportunity into the program. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Any other questions? Mr. Chair, I turn it back to you.
Thanks, Ben. So at this point, let us know if you have any other questions or comments, thoughts along those lines, but we are open for a motion. So whether you're in person or online, certainly you can make a motion to recommend or to, I guess, accept the recommendation from staff and move forward with their recommendation, or you can certainly make adjustments to what has been recommended. So the floor is open for a motion.
I'll go ahead and make that motion that we adopt staff's recommendation.
And that's Jacob, was it Centerville, right? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Syracuse,
With Syracuse.
Mike with Syracuse. So we have a motion on the floor. So those online, if you'll go ahead and unmute, we'll just ask for a voice vote. And if there's any issues there, if the motion's not clear on if it passes or not, then we can dial that in on individual votes. So we'll give just a moment for everyone to unmute, and those here in person can also turn their mics on. We'll give it just a moment. The motion is to accept the staff recommendations. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, everybody. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the Cmac program and run through the slides, and then we'll turn it over to Kip for the discussion. So if we can pull up the Cmac presentation, perfect. So if you'll recall back to that first table that we looked at, then there were 5 projects recommended in Cmac, totaling more than 9.9 million in requests. And there was 3.7 million available. But to remind us of those projects, we'll fly through. So we've got a request. The first one is a request from Clinton City. This is on 1500 West. This is to construct right turn lanes at 1700 North. 1700 North to 1800 North. The project estimated cost is 859,000 plus. Funds being requested is slightly more than 800,000. The next project is in Layton City. This is a Case Creek pedestrian overpass. This facility will go over the rail lines. The estimated project cost is $6 million. Funds being requested is 3.6 million. The next request is a project in West Point. This is an intersection at 4500 West. And I can't remember what north. The time's covering it up. 300 North. Thanks, Boyd. Sorry. It's 10:42 in case any of you were wondering. That's the project estimated cost is 1.3 plus million. Funds being requested is 1.2 plus million. The next project is a project in Ogden City. This is for the bike share program to expand their existing. They've currently got phase 1 and phase 2 program. This will be an expansion of those phases. Project estimated cost is 760,000 plus. Funds being requested is a little more than 700,000. The next project is a UTA. This is, sorry, this is for their on-demand solutions. This is in the North Ogden area of Weber County. Estimated project cost is 7.5 million. Funds being requested is 6.9 plus million. And as Kip goes through this, you'll notice that there's some adjustments as well. That is all the projects in the Cmac program. So Kip, we'll turn it over to you.
Before you get going, Kip, does somebody have their hand raised online? Or is that a prior hand raise?
Sorry, Wayne, that was a typo. I hit the 9. Apologies.
No worries. Thank you. apologize for the delay. We're just working on getting the spreadsheet. So thanks for your patience.
Sorry about that. We were going to have it all up there on the spreadsheet and we could do the numbers live. But we'll do it, do the numbers in our head. Okay, so Cmac program's considerably smaller than STP. We had 5 projects submitted for Cmac funding. As you're aware, for qualifying for Cmac funds, we have to demonstrate an air quality benefit resulting directly from that project. Ben mentioned, I think, that there's about 3.7 million available this year for Cmac. We had nearly $10 million in projects that were seeking Cmac funds, so not enough to go around, obviously. The projects that you see on the sheet in front of you or on the screen, those are ranked in order of the benefit cost ratio, the benefit being the emissions reduced and the cost of the Cmac funds that are being requested. Or in some cases, we get very large regional projects that we're trying to implement those over a number of years. And so this element that's being requested may be like $2 million of a $40 million project. So we try to consider the full cost necessary to achieve the emission benefits that are identified. So we're trying to be consistent how we use those numbers. So with more requests than we have funds, looking at how the projects were ranked, you can see on there that the top 3 projects we were recommending a partial funding. Those are in the next to second to right column shaded in gray. Is the staff recommendation. That's just intended to be a point for you to start the discussion. The column to the far right in yellow, that would be the final recommendation from this committee. So the first on there, we had the Layton Pedestrian Bridge at the Front Runner Station and some of the new developments that are going there at Layton. The request was 3.6 million, which is almost all that we had available. So we were recommending a partial amount and chose the amount of 2 million for that pedestrian bridge. The Ogden bicycle, that's kind of an expansion of the green bike we're familiar with in Salt Lake. They were seeking over 700,000 and we recommended 500,000 for the Ogden green bike. And then in West Point, they have an offset intersection there that does not operate very well. It presents some safety issues and it causes delays getting through that intersection. They were intending to put in a roundabout to alleviate that offset situation and improve the safety and reduce the delays. That was 1.2 million and we recommended that amount. So that totals about 3.7 million in recommended funding, which aligns with what we have available. And so that is, oh, and I should mention, okay, in the case of the Clinton intersection, adding the right turn lanes, it's probably a very worthwhile project, but the right turn lanes don't give us the delay reductions that we see from maybe a roundabout or left turn lanes or something. So, and then the UTA on-demand service, the price tag there was more than we could fit in the Cmac budget, and the on-demand service, we weren't getting as many passengers using that as you do, say, on a train or a bus. It's more of a kind of a one-for-one situation. So anyway, the emission benefits weren't as pronounced with that form of the service. So that's why those projects came out the way they were ranked based on the benefit costs, and that's a summary of our staff recommendation. So turn the time back to the chair for motion or discussions.
Yes, thank you, Kip. So thank you for the overview. So we'll open the floor to any questions or comments first off.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Ariana Farber. I'm the Deputy Director at MIDA. I'm just asking this question, and maybe I'm being a troublemaker. I don't intend to be. I'm just curious if the people who have submitted applications are also voting to make a recommendation on their own applications, if they're on this board.
Yeah, that's a good question. And maybe Ben or Kip, if you want to jump in, but all of the various cities and agencies involved in the technical advisory committee have a vote. And so those would include cities that make applications. So if there's for example, I represent Perry City, so I could cast a vote on behalf of a Perry City project. That'd be one vote. Kip, do you have anything else to add there if I'm missing anything?
I would just add that there is one vote per community if we're in a situation where there is not an obvious majority, then we would count the votes community by community.
It just seems to me that there's a bit of a conflict with that. And I only mention it because I don't have a dog in the fight. I didn't submit an application this year, but I have in previous years. And I found that I did not want to raise my hand we were not selected. But I found that I did not want to raise my hand to say, no, I don't agree with your decision. I want to be selected. You know what I mean? So I sort of was thinking along the lines of the folks who weren't selected this time around, sort of by default, you're voting for a project that isn't yours. And I don't think that anybody in their heart of hearts wants to vote for a project that isn't theirs. So I don't know. I just see that there's sort of a conflict there. Nobody wants to raise their hand and be like, no, I don't agree. I want my project to have been selected. At the same time, you don't want to be a troublemaker. You want to kind of go along with everyone else and be like, I want to do the right thing. And if that's the recommendation, I want to do the right thing. But it seems to me that if sort of by default, you're going along with voting for another project that maybe you don't want to vote for. And so I don't know, I just want to raise that as a possible thing that we could consider as a board. How do we make it so that you don't necessarily have to vote for a project that isn't yours, that is going to go ahead and be funded? Does that make sense to anybody besides me? Is anybody else experiencing that? If you're sitting there in a city, you're like, oh, gee whiz, my project wasn't funded, and yet I haven't voted to oppose because.
This is.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is Paul Larson from Brigham City. I mean, I had questions about how we can do better to get a better ranking out of our projects, but I think as I look at it, it's driven not by what this board does today, but by the rankings and the scoring that happens that you see reflected in that spreadsheet. And yeah, I guess I'm an example of someone who just voted for projects that are not in my city, and not against, but recognizing that my projects didn't score as well. I believe also we're not the final say on these. I believe this goes to the Wasatch Front Regional Council for their final vote. Is that correct?
You are correct, Paul, as far as it goes up the chain. But so this body, and maybe to step back just one step, Ariana, several years ago, we had a similar discussion with elected officials. And we explained to them the process. And some of them raised the same point. And some of them raised the point, should those who submitted a project be allowed to vote? And as we talked about the responsibilities we have as the regional council or as staff to the regional council, And this body that we're working with right now is the Transportation Coordinating Technical Advisory Committee to the Transportation Coordinating Committee of the Regional Council. These are all the professionals. These are the ones who really know what's going on, who have the feet on the ground, and are working with the projects. The elected officials, when they made these comments, it was almost a little offensive as we explained to them the process, but explained to them that it was pretty amazing to watch all of the city engineers come into a TAC meeting, because every one of them has a significant responsibility to the city they represent. However, when they come into the TAC meeting, almost always, they remove that city hat and they come in as a regional council technical advisory committee, and they're looking at the projects that'll best improve our network along the Wasatch Front with those projects that have been submitted with the limited funds that we have to program. And it's amazing. It's a humbling opportunity to work with all of you, but it was awesome to see that you may not have a project in this time. And in your case, Ariana, you didn't. We looked at it before, and that 3 mile trail that we were looking at before, that is a big deal project. And we'd recommend that we continue to work with you and look at that in the future. It's important to our community. But as you look through each one of these projects, almost without question, these projects are good projects, and they benefit or they help our community along the Wasatch Front build a better network and sustain what we currently have. So I recognize your concern. I would recommend or admonish this committee that you remember you are part of the technical committee to the regional council. And that's why we try to emphasize time and time again the significance of your involvement, of your input, and of your recommendation. That where we will go from here is we will take the information we have here and we will go to each of the COGs, Wake COG, Davis COG, Salt Lake COG, and we go to Brigham Cities, and we present what the Technical Advisory Committee submitted or recommended. We solicit for information from the COG, but we don't take their recommendation. We take information from them. Then when we go to TransCom, which is the Transportation Coordinating Committee for the Regional Council, we present your recommendation. And then we give the comments that were received in the COGs, but it's based on your recommendation. That's how significant this committee is in the process, and your understanding and knowledge of what's really happening and what we need to do. Did that kind of help? Or did I muddy the water?
I want to be clear again that I completely understand and I respect the decision-making process and this body. I just wanted clarification for myself because, yeah, it just seems like there is still in my mind a bit of a conflict, and not to be a troublemaker, because it just seems to me that I haven't heard anybody say, no, I oppose that, I want, and at the same time, you're still kind of, if you submitted a project, you in your mind must think that your project is worthy of receiving the grant funding. So you are, even by default, voting for somebody else's project, even if, so I don't know. I wonder if there's a way that we can just think on that and consider that and think about a way that we could create feedback and give technical feedback for this body without necessarily making it be about voting for your individual project. And that's, or I don't know. I don't know if anybody's in agreement with me on that, or if anybody has any thoughts on that, or maybe I'm way off base, but that to me seems to be more, I don't know, create more of a division when it comes to voting or creating a recommendation that makes sense.
Speaking for the
Chad with Farmington, can I speak up for just a sec? The last few years, I think everybody's been in agreement on the recommendations from WFRC, but in the past, it hasn't always been the way. This committee in the past has changed the recommendations, taken projects off and added other projects, in some pretty lively discussion. So I think it's just the last few years, it seems like all the recommendations that everybody's agreed on, but prior to that, it hasn't always been the case, and there has been some good discussion, and I think the committee has worked the way it should be in the past. I've had projects taken off during those discussions. I've had projects added on. And so I think it's worked well over the years.
Well, I think that that's a really good feedback, to know that, that things have changed and that it's not just, you know, sort of defaulting to that, to whatever the staff recommendations are.
Good point.
There's another comment over here.
I'm Sam Heiner with Jones and Associates. We represent quite a few of the clients and help with their applications. And I've been doing this probably 8 to 10 years now. And I've seen as Chris, Chad, I was thinking Chris, sorry, Chad. Chad commented, there's a lot of community support between each of the communities. And we all recognize we all need the money. We all recognize that based on the recommendations we received from WFRC, see that, oh, their project is better. I want to help support them. And that's why we continue to vote the way we do with that. And yes, I agree with Chad that there has been many times where there's been some good discussions deciding which project is actually better. And oftentimes, depending on who comes, we oftentimes decide on, I can't remember who it was, that said he prefers to see concrete rather than planning. And there's a couple of years where we switched the projects based on actual construction rather
Paul
than.
Rowland.
Yes. I couldn't remember his name, but so there has been plenty of times where we've had recommended projects and we've switched it. And it all depends on the projects because this is a rotating, revolving list every year. So it all depends on each year.
Great, and I apologize. I raised my hand at that moment because I had to leave early, and so I do appreciate everyone just considering my thoughts. And I see the value in everything you say, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Ariana, for speaking up.
Thank you. And so to reiterate, the sheet that's before you with for the Cmac projects and the recommendation, as I said, that's just a point to start the discussion. We welcome debate here. You know, if you disagree with the amounts, you think this other project has merits that aren't reflected here. Cmac is a little different because we do look at a benefit cost. But this is not a motion. This is a point to start the discussion. The motion and discussion comes from the committee.
Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, I think we have a question here and then over here as well.
I noticed that the staff.
I'm sorry, can you speak directly into the mic? Thank you.
Notice that the staff recommended amount is about 52,000 more than the available. Can you answer why that is?
I'll let Ben answer that.
Thanks, Kip. Great catch. It is slightly over what is currently available, but remembering that we're programming 6 years out. And so the opportunity for that to come back with the obligations or with additional funding into the program, it doesn't concern us to the point that it would be detrimental to any of the projects or the program.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things about the on-demand service and then just see if there are questions from anyone else in this room about it. Some of you were on the tours and saw more about that and others didn't. And Kip, you're right. The on-demand is not a normal bus route or a normal light rail line. It doesn't serve quite as many passengers per dollar spent. And the trips are of a different type. It's a trip within a small area that was shown on the screen to get people, yes, back and forth within that area, but more so also from a dispersed location in that area to a more major transit like Front Runner. It's largely a first mile, last mile. So while a person's trip in their car from where they live to Front Runner is being replaced by them taking a trip in a van to Front Runner. They then have the Front Runner trip after that, that they would have made fully in their car. It's hard to quantify that in an air quality benefit, and we struggled with that in the air quality sheet. You'll notice the project life here shows only the 3 years of the funding. The service would almost certainly continue, 10 more plus, who knows how many years that service would continue. So it's hard to quantify that portion of it as well. And while this service is more expensive per person than a bus route, it serves a very broad area and has a lot of potential for gathering users from that broad area rather than one route that has potential for gathering users from within quarter to a half a mile of that route only, that runs every 30 minutes to every hour or more, depending on what type of service it is. So it's really a new kind of thing we're doing. If you have more questions on it, we're happy to answer them. If you have more questions now, we can see what we can answer. Also wanted to point out the
Thanks,
request
Alma.
is for
We
the full
we may need to take a deeper
dive.
look at that
sometime.
next time around.
Yeah, and also look at the, it is for 3 years of funding. We could entertain looking at just 1 year of funding at a time if that's preferable to this committee.
Great comments. Anything else from the group here in person or online? Okay, if not, then the floor would be open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, and that was that Jeff online, it looks like?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So we have a motion and a second, so we'll let everybody turn their mics on, both in person and online. We'll give you a moment. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it appears this motion to accept the staff recommendation is approved. So we'll move on to
Thank you.
TAP projects.
Thank you, everyone, for all that you do. We're now going to start on the TAP program. So I'll run through the presentation or the slides of the TAP program. And then Hugh will conduct the discussion. So we lost the pink fuzzy line. But anyway, we're looking at the TAP program. There were 10. Oh. There were 10 projects that were submitted for evaluation this time on the TAP program. Perfect. Oh, look, pink is back. Thanks. So the 10 projects total more than $3.1+ million for an available amount of $1.5 million. And we'll let Hugh talk about that increase on the amount that's available. If you would, Hugh, cover that. So in the TAP projects, the first project that is one to be reviewed and evaluated is on the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad Corridor. This is for design of a pedestrian and bike trail along the corridor. Project estimated cost is $200,000. Funds being requested is $186,000 plus. The next project is in Bountiful City. This is a Bountiful Boulevard bike lane line striping project between Sunset Way, 1300 East. It's about 4.7 miles. Project estimated cost is $33,000. Funds being requested is $29,000 plus. The next project is a project in Centerville. This is on the multi-use trail from Parish Lane to 1275 North. about 8/10 of a mile in length. Project estimated cost is 956,000 plus. Funds being requested is 891,000 plus. The next project is a project in Layton City. This is on 3200 West. It's the Safe Routes to School project between 650 North and West Hillfield Road. Just more than 1/10 of a mile in length. This project estimated cost is 166,000 plus. Funds being requested is a little more than 80,000. The next project that we have is in North Salt Lake. This is on Redwood Road. This is for construction and missing sidewalk sections. There's 3 sections between 7500 or 75 North, 96 or 965 North. Boy, I just expanded your city limits, Paul. You can't retire yet. Project estimated cost 283,000 plus. Funds being requested is 226,000 plus. The next project is in South Weber City. This is on the Weber River Pathways. It's a trailhead connection, phase 2. This section, the estimated cost is 474,000 plus. Funds being requested is 325,000 plus. The section, so because the next few we're going to be talking about is the one that's highlighted in the blue square, because the next project is also a South Weber City. This is on the Weber River Pathway. This is a phase 3 between Compwood Drive to US 89, just under a half mile in length. Project estimated cost is 499,000 plus. Funds being requested is 318,000 plus. The next project is also in South Weber City on the Weber River Pathway. This is phase 4 between the north side of I-84 and the west of Weber River Crossing. Little more than a half mile, 6/10 plus of a mile. Project estimated cost 459,000 plus, and the funds being requested is 312,000 plus. The next request is also in South Weber. This is also on the Weber Pathway, Weber River Pathway. This will begin at the end of phase 3 to the end of phase 4. Kind of fills the gap there in the middle. Project estimated cost is 814,000 plus, and the funds being requested is 642,000 plus. The next project is in Plain City. This is for construction of missing sidewalk on 1500 North. This is the Safe Routes to School project. Estimated cost is 128,000 plus. Funds being requested is a little more than 102,000 plus. And that is all of the TAP projects to be reviewed and evaluated here this morning. Hugh?
Thanks, Ben. Feels so formal this morning. It feels a little strange compared to some of the previous meetings that we've all participated in, but thanks for everybody for being here. And the sheet that got handed out, you'll have to pull the same trick that Ben showed you earlier, right? Pull the staple apart, put them side by side. That'll give you your project scoring all the way across the top. The colors on here, you'll see there's the green project right at the top there, Layton City. If it's green, it's a Safe Routes to School project. If it's blue, it's an infrastructure project. And you'll see the red on the back side of the front page. Again, it's for design, as Ben went over. So fingers crossed, my sheet and your sheet have the same project order. I think that's the case. Ben puts in a ton of work manipulating these spreadsheets to get the scoring in and whatever is needed. So it's a miracle we can understand any of this at all. Ben, thank you for all the work you do. So we'll just get going here on the staff recommendations. So the very first project there in Layton, 3200 West Safe Routes to School project. Staff is recommending the request at $81,200. Next project is the Weber River Parkway Trailhead Connection Phase 3. And staff is recommending the 318,000 plus request. I'm going to skip the next project, Weber River Parkway Phase 4, and jump to North Salt Lake Redwood Road sidewalk connections. And staff is recommending the request at $226,000 plus. And we'll go to the next project. So Weber River Parkway Phase 2. So a second phase on this. Staff is also recommending 325,000 plus for that full requested amount. We're going to skip the next connection of the Weber River Parkway Phase 5. We're going to jump over the Bountiful Boulevard bicycle lane striping project and go to the 1500 North Safe Routes to School project in Plain City. Hopefully everybody's sticking with me here, and staff is recommending the $102,000+ for that full request there. In Centerville City, this is the multi-use trail. Little bit of an interesting situation here. We don't have it up on the screen, but I've been working with the staff and with UDOT up there in Centerville, and been some discussion about rather than taking this trail north, that the cost has been proposed, and there's a way to punch it more directly west, right underneath Legacy Parkway and interchange there. It's a much shorter route, much cheaper and much more direct for all the users. And so in order to help with that, we recommend $250,000 with that revised scope rather than the request of 891 plus. And then the last project on the list is for design money for the portion of the Utah-Idaho Central Railroad Corridor, which is also part of the Historic Orchard Pathway Corridor and the future Front Runner Trail Corridor in Box Elder County. And we are recommending 186,000 plus request for that design money. So again, available money is 1.5 million. That gets us to 1.49 plus. And happy to open up to the committee for discussion.
Would you mind reading just the numbers real quickly again? Not the dollar amounts, just the project numbers.
Project numbers, you bet. Yeah. So this would be the very first column, right? So we'll do number 1, number 2, number 4, number 5, number 8, number 9, and number 10. I guess, okay.
I have a question for you.
Please.
For item number 10. The trail along the abandoned railroad corridor. Is this in conflict with some of the previous projects we talked about preserving corridor for the front runner going through Box Elder County?
So if I understand your question, you're asking if we build a trail here, will it get wiped out by a front runner or some other
Yeah,
transit
or,
in the
or are
future?
those two projects conflicting with each other?
Yeah, that's not, my understanding is no, that they're not conflicting. It is front right of way that UTA does own. There's room for both a trail and future transit service, but I'm happy to look to Carrie Doan, who's with us from UTA, or Alma also to expand on that.
That's correct, Hugh. They're complementary services. It's the room both for front runner and for the trail. This design will help plan for that to make sure that we're putting the trail in a place where the front runner could still operate in the future next to it. Carrie, looks like you have some comments too.
Well, I was going to ask a different one, but I don't think we own that right of way yet. That's why we have the right of way request. So it's not right of way that we own at this time. Is that correct?
This one is right of way that we do own. The previous request that was approved for right of way preservation is in Weber County. This is north in
Sorry.
Box Elder, if I'm not, yeah, this is in Box Elder, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, Carrie.
I have a different question, Hugh. So I'm looking at the evaluation that between the different types of projects, there seems to be different criteria for each, whether it's a safe routes to school, a design, or a what the gray ever, what do you call those? And so those projects are being scored against each other when they don't really have the same opportunity to get the same amount of points just because of the criteria.
Yeah, it's a good question. We actually do this. So the 3 categories: safe routes to school, infrastructure, and planning / design. We score the projects in all of those categories and to see where they land and how they do compare against each other in all the categories. But then we show the score of the category that it is in. So internally, we look at that and consider it and say, how is this ranking against all those other projects? So it's not something that we put on these sheets, but it's something that we think about and look at. Does that help at all? And I don't know, Ben or Wayne, if you want to add to that.
I'll just add, if I may, the potential maximum points for each type of project is actually 100. You're correct that the evaluation criteria vary, whether it's a capital improvement or a planning project or a safe routes to school project, but the maximum potential points for each project type is 100.
That answered, thanks.
Thanks, Wayne. And sorry, I didn't mean to neglect anybody online that's following along either. Is anybody there? Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Hugh. And last chance for any comments or questions, but it looks like there are no further. So we'll go ahead and open up the floor for a motion on the TAP projects.
I'll move for approval of the staff recommended TAP projects. Alma with UTA.
Okay, Alma with UTA makes a motion to approve as recommended. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Liz with Layton City.
Elizabeth-Layton City, thank you. We have a motion and a second. We'll give you a moment to turn your microphones on here in the office or online. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, and I think that covers the business items, the action items for the agenda today. Anything else from staff? If not, we'll move forward. The next item on our agenda is a presentation from Fruit Heights City. Do we have our presenter? All right.
Hello, my name is Brandon Green. I'm the city manager for Fruit Heights City, and it's a pleasure to be able to stand before you and present what little I know about Fruit Heights City. I've been with Fruit Heights City for 17 years in April, and the time has gone by pretty quick. It's been a great community to work for, and we have changed a lot over the years in many ways. Roads and subdivisions like many of you. Just a little bit of a brief history on Fruit Heights. We were established in 1939. We currently have 6,100 residents and about 2,800 homes, or excuse me, 1,800 homes. We have a really small budget. And we managed to operate pretty well within the bounds of our budget. We have 8 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, and we're able to get everything we need to get done with the staff that we have. And I appreciate my staff very much. They are hardworking individuals that I can depend on daily. Fruit Heights City has had the opportunity to receive funding through Wasatch Front Regional Council, and we very much appreciate that opportunity. Just recently, we were awarded some funds to update our general plan, something that we hadn't done since 2005. So it had been a while. And with all the changes that have happened in the legislature with affordable housing and with changes to just our city in general, the growth, it became necessary for us to do that. So with that funding, we received $80,000. We hired a firm, Landmark Design, went out to RFP, excuse me, and got Landmark Design And Megan from this office was key in helping us secure that. So I'm grateful for Megan and for all of her hard work as she has helped us to get that. But we're just right now in the process of doing some public hearings and some noticing for our general plan update. And if you follow social media, just last week, I managed to blow it up pretty good because we've got this large parcel of ground in Fruit Heights that Davis County thinks is real valuable, and people hit little white golf balls around on it. And we decided that if at some point that decides to change, we wanted to make sure that we had some planning taken to address that. And the golfing community did not appreciate that very much, but it's been good. Later this year, we hope to be able to finalize that general plan and put that into place. But the key individuals that have been helping us, like I said, Landmark Design and Tim with Township and Range have been very good to work with. Some of the other funds that we've received from Wasatch Integrated or Wasatch Front Regional Council is some money to put in sidewalks. And that has been very helpful. As a small community on a fixed income or fixed budget, we are always looking for ways that we can do projects and not raise our tax to our residents. That's not a very popular thing for us to do. Highway 89 is right now in the middle of Fruit Heights. They're working on the Nichols Road project, and several years ago, we received $1 million from Wasatch Front Regional Council for an overpass at Nichols Road. That money, my understanding is that money was used by UDOT to make that overpass happen at Nichols Road. We are thrilled with the work that is occurring along Highway 89 and see many benefits to those that travel Highway 89 daily. We're also grateful for the working relationship we have with UDOT and with everybody that's been involved in that project. Fruit Heights will continue to grow. We're just about reaching our build out with one development that's left on the East Bench. That will pretty much take us to build out. And so we will be trying to manage that. And we don't know quite what that is going to look like at this point. But again, I want to thank Wasatch Front Regional Council for all that you do for the communities along the Wasatch Front and the benefit that you provide to so many different areas of our city, of our community, and of our state. And it's a pleasure to be able to work with you. And I appreciate this opportunity to present. I don't know if there's any questions I can answer or if that's good enough. This is my first time, but is that okay? Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a couple last items as we wrap up the business today. I have a couple items under other business. First will be to address our next meeting format. So we obviously have been meeting online. With this meeting, we tried to meet in person and do a hybrid approach. So if we want to stay with hybrid, we'll continue to hold those meetings here at Wasatch WFRC's headquarters here. Or we could go back to meeting in person in Clearfield. So we wanted to get some feedback from the group on what we love, what we hate, what we want to do moving forward. Any thoughts along those lines?
Well, being from North Salt Lake, I like this location a lot better than the Clearfield location. But personally, I feel that I think most of the meetings can be done virtually, except for maybe this meeting and the one where Ben explains them in the first time also. So those two meetings maybe do a hybrid, but I think the rest could be on also virtual.
But most of the monthly meetings might just stay online as a suggestion. And then when we need to meet together for these these types of meetings we could. Any other thoughts? No strong opinions or feelings?
If I could share a thought about the tours, I think once upon a time you put seats in a bus or in a van and the whole TAC went around to the tours. And I think I might have mentioned this to you before, Ben, so buzz me if I'm speaking out of line. I wonder if that might not be now where it's been, Ben and the UDOT program managers have done a great job going out and looking at all of the sites and showing other people the sites via a connection on a tablet. Might that be something that could be made available for the rest of the group to not necessarily participate in, but at least to view in coming years? Might that be a possibility so that people can see more of the projects? I mean, it's really great to see the roadshow you do of them online with the screen, and you put a lot of good information up there, but it's about 2 seconds or less per project. Thoughts from others and you, Ben, as well. Just a thought of the possibility.
I think that's a great idea, Alma, on field reviews. I think field reviews are essential and to have some view, physical view of the project to be on the ground or via Zoom. I think we would welcome that. We'd welcome as much participation, and I think we'll look at that in the future. If that's something you'd like, we'll send those links out. The only hesitation is if we run into a situation where we're pretty tight on the schedule, that we don't get hundreds of questions that slow us down. But questions are good. I would just need to coordinate. So Rosie is one of she's critical in helping us make sure our schedule is working. So we'll just have to maybe space the projects out a little more. Maybe it turns to a 3-day.
Or questions don't need to be answered right then necessarily. Maybe it could just be streamed to the TAC members other than those who, you usually have participating, or even maybe some of those like me with UTA who has participated. We could switch to watching it streamed only or something and submitting questions typed for you to look at later or something. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And I don't want to discourage questions. Those are good. And you guys are a lot more pro. You've been in the ditch. You know all the tricks and all the concerns. So that your information would be very helpful and beneficial. We'll just have to look how we coordinate that. But yes, that's a great suggestion. Would like to do that, Alma. Thank you.
Good comments. If there's nothing else, I think I would leave it to Ben and his crew to take those comments and plan accordingly moving forward with the meetings. And one minor note, I'm sure you'll see it in your emails coming across, is the October meeting is proposed to change from the 12th to the 19th. And then lastly, I was just informed that we ought to make a little shout out here to Lauren Gardner with North Ogden City. It sounds like this is your swan song here. So I'm glad we had some bagels here for you to celebrate. And do you want to take a moment and just say a few words and introduce your counterpart here?
Just wanted to give out appreciation to everyone who's helped me in my career. But Eric Casperson is taking my place, and he's going to do a great job, and you'll be working with him for the next many years. So just appreciate everyone's association and friendship over the years. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, to wrap things up, our next meeting will be May 25th.
Hey, Robert, we do
Yes.
got one more.
There's something.
So
Oh, we have another one? Hey, yeah,
Paul,
let's hear about it.
Yeah, or we were going to close the doors and not let any of them out, but Paul as well. So
Yeah, so real quickly, I've been with North Salt Lake for 25 years, but I've only been a member of this group for about half of those years. Our previous city manager did not like getting any grants at all because of all the red tape and everything. So we completely avoided this for the first half of my tenure as city engineer. But it's been really great to be with this group and to get these projects and to see everyone. The city's assistant city engineer is here, Karen Baxter. We there's been no decision made yet, but hopefully she'll be replacing me. We'll see. But anyway, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. And as I mentioned, May 25th will be our next meeting. May simply be online. If not, I'll let Ben reach out and make sure refreshments and assignments are handled. But if there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right, so moved. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.